you can weigh in on any of the stories that we talk about here on the podcast. We'd love to hear from you. We may use your questions, opinions on a future episode. If you want to do that, 888-5-KILLER, 888-554-5537 to weigh in on anything. It's Tony and Stacey Cole with you. Let's go to a caller. Hi.
Hey, Tony, this is Leslie from Texas. First of all, thank you for your podcast. And the Kohberger story is actually what got me started on your podcast. I've been following you from the beginning. So I'm really curious to talk about his body language when he was arraigned this week. I actually only listened to it first, and I just watched it for the first time yesterday. And, very stoic. But I did notice, I think you mentioned this in one of your podcasts already. And if you've covered this since and I've missed it, I apologize. But I'm curious, as I noticed while some of the victims' names were being read and just other points during that arraignment, it looked like he was either sucking on his cheek or like sticking out his tongue on his cheek. And I did a little bit of Google research on it. This just really interests me. My background's in psychology, so this is really interesting to me. But I noticed one thing that I found is that it could potentially be a way for him to be hiding something, or maybe a sign of stress or anxiousness. So anyway, would love a body language expert on that, and we'll definitely be looking for more body language in the coming months when the trial gets further along the way. So thanks so much for all you're doing and all the stories you're covering. Have a great day.
I was thinking the same thing, and we do have some good body language experts that I do want to ask about that. I have not had them on yet since that took place, but he was number one, he's under stress no matter what, innocent or guilty. This is not an easy situation to be in. So if your kind of body language movement is tending to be comforting by sucking on your cheek or your thumb, everybody kind of has their comfort things. I don't know that it necessarily is indicative of any sort of guilt, other than just the fact that the country is watching you being charged with first-degree murder of 4 people and burglary. You probably are not in a great space at that moment in time.
Yeah, right.
Now, I'm not dismissing him as possibly being the murderer, because I think he likely is, based on the evidence. But again, I think anybody in that situation could be acting that way. He's someone who very much wants to be in control of everything that goes on. One of the things I noticed recently, and we've talked about it on some episodes, was the traffic stop that we've recently seen. There was one that took place a couple weeks before the murders actually took place, where an officer pulls him over for speeding. Are you familiar with this one?
I'm familiar with him doing the tailgating, but not the speeding.
I'm sorry, not speeding. For going through a red light, I should say. We'll play that here. Here, let me find it.
He's not a good driver, is he?
Well, I don't know that it's that, or I think the Idaho ones. I don't know. Let's see here, Kohberger.
I drive a lot, and I haven't been. Well, let's knock on wood. I haven't been pulled over in like 7-8 years. This guy is just like continuously getting pulled over. What the hell?
There's been a lot of him getting pulled over, but let's try and go to this body cam footage and audio being pulled over 1 month before these shooting killings. Take a listen to the way he talks. Take a listen to his demeanor towards the police officer who has cause to pull him over, and how he still tries to direct the narrative very calmly and passive aggressively, if you will, to let them know that what they're saying is wrong. And I should note that the whole time he has the crazy, creepy eyes going on in this video. Take a listen.
Intersection.
Yeah,
so
I was behind you the whole time.
Let me back it up. Officers coming up to the white Elantra.
I am Officer Langus. Stops being audio and video recorded. I think you know why I stopped you. You ran the red light.
What actually happened was I was stuck in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah,
so
I was behind you the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So technically you're not supposed to enter the intersection at all for that reason, because if the light turns red, then you're stuck in the intersection, and then you run the red light. So that's the reason I stopped you. Do you have your license on you?
Yep.
So initially they're telling her, well, technically what happened was this.
Do you have the registration and insurance?
Getting out his stuff. in the white Hyundai Elantra.
We just get this for you out.
You what?
I'm just gonna get this out for you.
Okay.
Takes it out, gives it to the officer.
So would you explain that to me a little bit further? So in Pennsylvania, when you're stuck like in their intersection, you have to make the left. So what would the appropriate thing for me to have done been? Just
You're
back up
not
in
supposed
that
to
situation?
block an intersection like that in Washington. So just by you blocking the intersection, that's technically a ticketable violation. And then you're running a red light. So it's another ticketable offense. So you're not supposed to proceed into the intersection until you can go. Because a lot of people do what you just did, right? Is like you're sitting in the intersection waiting and then turns and then you're blocking. So
yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with speeding because someone had stopped. I wasn't sure what they were doing, and then they put on their light to turn. So I thought that maybe they were letting me go through.
Oh.
Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, like right before I made the turn, there was someone who like made a right. They didn't have their signal on, so I wasn't sure if they were just waiting.
Yeah, so I would just advise just don't enter the intersection until you can go so you don't get stuck. Let's see.
But in that situation, the best thing to do then would be back up and not.
I don't know if there's a best thing to do in that situation because you're either going to back up into somebody or you're going to run a red light. So, or you're going to be sitting in an intersection.
Yeah.
There's not really a great.
So she already said to him, you just don't go in the intersection until it's time to go. And
and I don't want to defend this guy in any way, shape, or form here, but and I'm in Wisconsin, so maybe rules are different. And I grew up in Minnesota.
They are.
So if you pull out, say you're in the left-hand turn lane, you pull out, it's green when you pull out, but you're just not finding an opportunity to go.
Yeah.
And there isn't one until the light turns red and the other side stops.
Yeah.
Then are you blocking traffic and you're running a red light?
Technically, I guess you are. The problem with this is we used to live in a society where people, when the light was red or orange, they would stop. And then you'd have an opportunity to actually turn. People will still run that red light, and you'll be stuck there until other oncoming traffic keeps trying to go. Because
you're 100% right on that. Absolutely.
No one has consideration for anybody else. So that's how that works. I was kind of surprised by this as well, because yes, that's how I grew up learning how to drive as well. But I think different states have different laws on this, because when I drive like that here, my fiance actually says to me, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm just
really
waiting to take my turn to turn. Well, you got to wait. Like, what? Like, that's not how but every state's different. Every state has different specific laws on how to handle different situations like that, or how to even get onto a freeway. I was taught you floor it to get up to speed before you get into the lane.
To match the cars.
In other places, it's not like that. It's like it's literally yield at the entrance to the highway.
Oh,
which is insane. I'm sure creates far more accidents. And it's horrible if you're on the highway and there's somebody yielding and then they suddenly think they have the in and they don't. So it's different. There's a little bit more to this. I'm curious to hear.
I was just slightly into the crosswalk, so where I'm from Pennsylvania, we actually don't have like crosswalks.
Oh,
so even if you're kind of slightly, there's a little bit more leeway as well. Like there are a few lines. Like there's one white line and there's another one in front. Like there's like a certain margin from which you can actually kind of put your vehicle, place your vehicle.
Yeah. So I know laws vary state.
He's kind of like a robot the way he talks. And I don't think he blinks either.
Oh dear.
I will say he's got every time. He has the creepiest eyes, and obviously creepy eyes are not indicative of guilt, but it certainly does not help him one iota. I know a lot of people go, oh, he's got a nice jawline. He's kind of an attractive young man, but those freaking eyes.
Ugh.
They're piercing.
They're very piercing, and they like to, I mean, it seems anytime he looks right into the camera, especially those stops that were on the Dateline episode, he is looking into your soul. I actually looked away from the TV because it was just piercing.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, it's creepy. I don't know what else to make of it. It's a full 10-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole thing here right now. But it is very interesting. This is interesting. I am getting a tweet from Jennifer Coffindaffer at this exact second about Kohberger, and I just want to read it for you.
Can we call this breaking news?
I don't know if it's breaking news. I'm literally my arm vibrated because my arm just randomly vibrates sometimes. My watch is there. Why were Bryan Kohberger's parents subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury in Pennsylvania?
Uh-oh.
This would likely be a separate from his alleged murders of the Idaho Four. Why else was Bryan Kohberger doing in Pennsylvania? We all said it. There would be dirt under his fingernails. That's it. Not his first rodeo in terms of committing precursory type crimes. So very interesting. Parents of Idaho murder suspect have been subpoenaed to testify before a Pennsylvania grand jury. That's very interesting. I'm going to read this story from, it's from CNN. I'm just going to read it verbatim. The parents of Bryan Kohberger have been subpoenaed to testify before a Monroe County, Pennsylvania investigative grand jury, according to a source familiar with the situation. Kohberger's father is expected to testify before the impaneled grand jury in a sealed proceeding in Pennsylvania Thursday, according to the source. His mother previously testified before a secret panel. The source said the parents of the man indicted for the killings of 4 University of Idaho students were subpoenaed in the Pennsylvania jurisdiction where they live and where Bryan Kohberger was arrested last December. Their compelled testimony under oath may be shared with prosecutors in Idaho, according to the source. Pennsylvania law allows judges to release transcripts of witness testimony before grand juries to other investigative agencies after the court hearing. An attorney representing Kohberger's parents tried unsuccessfully to have the subpoenas quashed, the source said. The attorneys retained by Michael and Mary Ann Kohberger declined to comment to CNN about the grand jury proceedings. The Later County Prosecutor's Office declined to comment to CNN, citing the gag order in effect of the Kohberger case. By law, Monroe County grand jury can only review potential crimes that occurred within Monroe County, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. It's unclear what potential crimes they are investigating.
Could it be obstruction of justice?
That was what just came to mind too. Could it be something? Did they have knowledge of what their son did, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know what crime technically took place other than him being a felon, or on the loose, although he wasn't charged yet. So,
but what if they knew? But that's such a fine line. What if? So they maybe suspected that he was doing something or he was acting weird, which we know he was. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that they were trying to shelter him in some way.
No, I don't think they were. I really feel bad for this family because I think they were totally thrown for a loop on all of this. But I don't know what would unless there's something else, which they're very likely. We've learned in the last week that Kohberger likely helped in fact, the allegations from a friend are that she needed someone to help install that security camera in her house. Yeah. And he had access to it. That right there, I'm sure is somewhat of a crime if you're accessing that into someone's house. What could have also been going on in Pennsylvania? I don't know. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of rumors out there on the internet. We don't usually touch a lot of them because a lot of them are quite far-fetched. But I would be curious. There has been speculation that was he involved in other things in other states or other areas? I guess we will soon find out. I wonder if there's a reason that this grand jury hearing is going on this week as well as his initial one, the arraignment that took place Monday. If there was some sort of organizational tie to this, that we're about to learn a lot more of what Kohberger has possibly done.
Boy, this thing just keeps unraveling, doesn't it?
It is. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Grand jury, seal testimony. It's all sealed. But if there's some sort of grand jury convening in Pennsylvania, there's going to be some interesting things to come out with that. Huh. Well, there you go. You're all learning about it just as we're learning about it. But we'll certainly keep our eyes on that. Jennifer was talking to me the other day about this, Jennifer Coffindaffer, saying that there's something with the parents. She wasn't comfortable talking about what yet, but it was more so in the lines of they're probably not going to be necessarily sitting there supporting their son.
Well, and maybe that's what this grand jury has to do with it, because maybe they realized our son isn't right. He's doing some weird things. There's too many coincidences. What if they are the ones who turned him in?
Yes, and I completely agree. But however, it would have to be a crime that was committed in that county for them to convene a grand jury there. That's the part that makes it weird.
Is there somebody else missing?
Would it be a crime for him just to be there after he committed the murders but was not yet charged? Is that a crime?
Well,
because you're not charged yet. He wasn't caught yet. And they didn't have necessarily, well, they did have a warrant for him eventually, but only the police knew about it until they literally nabbed him.
Well, that's a really good question.
So is that
unless he did something in that county that was also illegal? Did he harm somebody? Did he admit to something and nobody did anything?
Here's my guess. He was trying to hide evidence. He was putting evidence in the neighbor's trash can. He was using latex gloves, things of that nature. So my guess is it's something tied to the initial case. But the crime that was taking place is he was trying to conceal evidence in that county in Pennsylvania. That's my guess.
Well, and he was putting his trash in Ziploc bags.
Yeah, exactly.
And disposing of it. So that was actual crime scene evidence that was being deposited in that state.
And he cleaned the back of his car as well in that state. So my guess is they're subpoenaed to talk about what they witnessed while he was there staying with them, what they saw, what they heard. And I'm guessing that's it. That, I don't know. I mean, I'd be very surprised if there was something else, but that would make sense right there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I know. We'll keep...
Time will tell.
Time will tell as this case just continues to get a little bit stranger by the day. If you want to weigh in on anything we talk about, 888-554-5537, 888-5-KILLER is our phone number to do just that. For Stacy, I'm Tony. Stay with us.